Welcome to the hottest movie review on the internet today, the A-List Review. I'm your host, the Game Changer, Wes Troop. This week I've got 5 movies to review, one brand new to theaters, one that has just been expanded in theaters, a special 30th anniversary review, as well as 2 DVD reviews. So this week we're going to take a look at Furious 7. It follows the 30th anniversary of The Breakfast Club, as well as DVD reviews of Interstellar and The Imitation Game. So let's get started with a movie that Vin Diesel believes will win this year's Best Picture at the Oscars. I don't know about that, but here's my review of Furious 7. Sins of the past come back to haunt Dom and his family as the brother of the man they took down in London looks for revenge. After he sends them some personal messages, the team reunites once again to whip some ass. So what did I think of Furious 7? I thought it's a well-made action drama. As I said with the last few films, I would have never expected this franchise to still be red hot with audiences and getting better or at least on par with the last entry. As with all the films, we know to expect some awesome stunts. There's no letdown here as we're given some incredible action sequences, including slick car chases, street fights, brawls, some pretty awesome cat fights, and a few over-the-top but fun scenes with cars parachuting out of planes and driving and jumping through different buildings. Yes, that's right, just like you saw in the trailer. Oh, and of course the bus scene as well. The story packs more than you might expect and finally wraps up a storyline which started all the way back in the third film, but actually just took place in the timeline of these films. I know, whoever thought it would be non-linear with Fast and the Furious. I enjoy the fact it's not just brainless action, and while it's not the best plot in the series, it's still satisfying. Also remember, some of the story had to be rewritten. This time, the gang heads out to Tokyo, Abu Dhabi, and more on the search to rescue the creator of a computer program that can hack into any kind of technology in order to find their villain. I felt they dealt with the character of Brian O'Connor in a fine fashion, of course, being played by the late Paul Walker in his final film. The end of the film becomes emotional, and it's a touching tribute to the character and the actor. Vin Diesel reprises his role as Dominic Toretto, the now pardoned convict and former street racer looking to face off with the man who killed his friend and threatens the rest of his family. The rest of the large ensemble includes Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, the big brother of Owen who's out for vengeance, Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs, the special agent who's put in the hospital by Shaw, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty, Dom's girlfriend still having trouble with her memory, Kurt Russell as Petty, the agent who recruits Dom for a rescue mission, Jordana Brewster as Mia, Brian's wife, who's worried about him being out in the field, as well as Tyrese Gibson and Chris Ludacris, Luda, what you got in that bag, Bridges, he has many nicknames, rounding out the rest of the gang. While the series is set to continue, this would be a perfect spot to call it a day. But I'm sure with the large paycheck Universal's gonna get for this one, it's gonna keep going. Furious 7 delivers the action and is a big, fun ride. I'm going to give it the rating of do it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I still think Fast 5 is my favorite of the series, but this one and 6 come pretty close to Fast 5 for me. So I really enjoyed it. Did not expect to get emotional at the end of the movie. People were crying, and I'm not going to give too much away, but I almost did. I was almost in tears, and I did not expect to ever think I would be that in a Fast and the Furious movie. By number 7, you know what you're getting into. You know exactly what you're going to get into with this movie. So if you're a fan, definitely go see it. If not, then don't. Then don't go and be like, oh, this is a horrible experience, because you're just going to ruin it for everyone else. So if you're a fan, you will probably enjoy it. Alright, now this next film has been getting a lot of hype online, and it started out small and it now has been expanded to many theaters. Thankfully this weekend it expanded to my theater, so I got to catch it. Here is my review of It Follows. After a romantic evening on the beach and in the backseat of a car, oh hey, a teenage girl is chloroformed by her date. Well, aren't we all? When she wakes up, she's tied to a wheelchair and is then informed by her date during sex he passed on something that will follow her and try to kill her. I've used that excuse before. The only way to get rid of it is for her to pass it on to someone else, and hopefully it won't find its way back to either one of them. When she starts getting followed by spooky tormentors, she believes what's going on is true. So what did I think of It Follows? I thought it's a satisfying horror film. This is no doubt one of the most original horror movies I've seen in the past few years. The fact the curse is passed through having sex with someone is interesting and quite different than an STD. I'm not sure if I like the ending as it leaves many questions unanswered, but at least it's not cheesy. I always love when a film in this genre can creep me out, and there were quite a few things here that did the job. There's even a few genuinely worthy jump scares that almost made me drop my popcorn. It relies more on tension and suspense than blood and gore, which is almost always a plus, and might have you squirming in your seat. The soundtrack is great too, having a throwback sound to the 1980s horror favorites. And some of it sounded like video games too, but that's cool. Nice work by the cast starring Micaiah Monroe as Jay, the college student who has passed the curse and is on the run from an unknown creeper who can shapeshift. Keira Gilchrist as Paul, Jay's friend since childhood, who still has a crush on her. Lily Seepy as Kelly, Jay's caring sister who tries to help her. Olivia Lucardi as another member of the group of friends, Daniel Zavato as Greg, the neighbor across the street who gets involved, and Jake Weary as Hugh, the gem of a guy who gives Jay the curse. It Follows isn't the cult masterpiece some are making it out to be, but it's easily one of the best horror films I've seen in a long while. I'm going to give it the rating of Do It. Yes, if you are even remotely interested in this film, which I would be if by seeing the previews. It's not, like I said, it's not a global phenomenon that will change the course of horror movie history, but it's a good movie, and it's worth checking out if you're a horror fan. Alright, it was back in theaters 2 nights this past week. It's an 80s classic that everybody usually enjoys. Here are my thoughts on the 30th anniversary of The Breakfast Club. 5 high school students are forced to attend a 9-hour Saturday detention. The kids go into the detention as strangers or vaguely knowing each other, but come out closer than they could have imagined. So what did I think of The Breakfast Club? I thought it's a classic comedy drama that became one of the most famous films released from the 1980s. The students all represent different cliques from the high school social setting: a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. They're forced to write an essay for the assistant principal on who they think they are in no less than 1,000 words. At first, the students begin to agitate each other, getting into arguments and fights with plenty of middle fingers and insults to go around. As they get to know each other a little more, they turn a bit more friendly. They realize there's more to each other than they thought as they hear their stories and discuss family problems such as trying to gain their parents' approval, all the way to abuse, hitting home some pretty serious topics. In lighter moments, the students mess with the principal, run through the hallways, smoke pot, and of course, like in any good 80s movie, dance. There are some good laughs and lines still quoted all these years later. This film could be looked at as a social experiment, pinning these 5 kids that think they have nothing in common together and then realizing they're not as different as they thought. Emilio Estevez stars as Andy Clark, the jock who's in trouble for embarrassing a fellow student in the locker room. Molly Ringwald as Claire Standish, a popular girl the rest claim is a virgin. Judd Nelson as John Bender, the troublemaker who doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. Anthony Michael Hall as Brian Johnson, the studious nerd the others think is naive. Ali Sheedy as Allison Reynolds, the outcast who begins to come out of her shell, and Paul Gleason as Richard Vernon, the assistant principal looking forward to making the kids pay. Yes, as all assistant principals do. The Breakfast Club is still relevant and is a must-watch if you've never had the chance to experience it. We certainly haven't forgotten about it. I'm going to give it the rating of A-list approved. It gets the A-list seal of approval. Definitely, if you haven't seen The Breakfast Club, make sure to rent it, check it out on Skinamax or HBO, whatever it's on these days. Get the 30th anniversary. Why not? And new this week on DVD and Blu-ray, we have 2 new releases, so I'm going to tell you what I thought. This first film was up for the Best Picture at the Academy Awards this past year. It is The Imitation Game. A group of English scholars are recruited to join a top-secret organization to try to crack Nazi Germany's Enigma code to try and bring World War II to a close. The team leader, Alan Turning's life is highlighted as well. So what did I think of The Imitation Game? I thought it's a well-made drama. Some of the subject matter could have easily been boringly presented, but every moment keeps the audience enthralled. We see the amazing true story of the genius who invents the Turing machine, which was a very early version of a computer to solve the code, which had about 159 million possibilities. There's also the look at Turing's personal life, flashing back to when he was a young student at boarding school, to being engaged to a woman even though he's gay, hiding that secret because it's illegal in that time, and finally being arrested for gross indecency. Much like other civil rights films, it's heartbreaking to see how people were treated in different times. While there's obviously some sad elements, there is a bit of humor once in a while to keep things upbeat, such as a great job interview scene at the beginning of the film. Benedict Cumberbatch is awesome as Alan Turing, the socially awkward mathematician and prodigy who saved millions of lives and shortened the war by 2 years, but just recently got credit for it. Also in the cast, Keira Knightley as Joan Clark, a female whiz who ends up marrying Alan, Matthew Good as Hugh Alexander, one of Alan's colleagues who doesn't get along with him personally, Charles Dance as Denniston, the commander looking for any excuse to fire Turing, and Mark Strong as Stuart Menzies, the chief of MI6. While it didn't crack my highest rating, Cumberbatch's performance makes The Imitation Game an intriguing watch. I'm gonna give it the rating of do it. Yeah, it didn't make my top of last year's, list, 2014. It's a good movie that with a few little things could have been great. I felt it wasn't, but a lot of people did out there. It's one of those things where it's not really your bag, shall we say? It's not my bag, baby. But I still found it to be a good watch. And finally, Matthew McConaughey goes to space. Cue the all right jokes. Here are my thoughts on Interstellar. In the future, blight has hit Earth, causing crops to die and will soon become inhospitable for humans. NASA has discovered 3 possible planets located in a different galaxy that could possibly host human life and send a team of astronauts to check out the locations. So what did I think of Interstellar? I thought it's an outstanding and thought-provoking sci-fi drama. First off, the visuals and effects are exceptional and give a breathtaking view of space. After about an hour of setup, when the characters leave Earth, we get a first-rate space adventure. There is a large amount of science talk, dealing with relativity, the space-time continuum, and wormholes, as well as questioning if something larger is out there. Also included is a touching father-daughter storyline seen through a lifetime, which can get quite emotional. The story can be a bit confusing at times, especially near the end when crossing dimensions comes into play. Christopher Nolan directs and does a superb job yet again, giving us fans another epic. Matthew McConaughey stars as Cooper, a former NASA astronaut who's now widowed and works as a farmer. He's called upon for a mission to possibly save humanity, but must leave his family to do so. McConaughey is impressive yet again and continues his streak of great performances. Also in the cast, Anne Hathaway as Amelia Brand, a biologist who joins Cooper on the mission, Michael Caine as Professor Brand, Amelia's father, and the professor who comes up with the plan of the last-ditch effort to save the human race, Jessica Chastain as Murph, Coop's daughter, who over the years ends up working for NASA, Casey Affleck as Tom, Cooper's son, John Lithgow as Cooper's father-in-law, and a surprising supporting performance I won't spoil, because it's awesome. The only cons here is it's a bit long and heavy-handed at times. Interstellar is a film that really packs in anything you could ask for in a sci-fi film and is a must-see. I'm going to give it the rating of A-list approved. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there that, I don't want to say didn't get this movie, but they didn't really care for it. It's not Nolan's best, obviously. But I felt it was good. It was different. And it's a good sci-fi movie. So if you're a big fan of sci-fi movies, you should at least check this out for at least the visuals. And if you're a Nolan fan, you definitely should check it out. All right, well, that's it for this week. Next week, I'll be back with a review I've been dreading for months. What I do for you people, I swear. I'll be back with my review of The Longest Ride. I think I'll be more embarrassed to see that than 50 Shades of Grey. So, yeah, that'll be fun. As well as anything else that comes out, and of course, whatever for DVD and Blu-ray, make sure you come back and share in my pain next week. So until next time, don't forget to subscribe to me right here on YouTube. youtube.com/westside515. You can like me on Facebook, facebook.com/WestTrueBaylist. Follow me on the Twitter and the Instagram @WesAList. And of course, you can buy my book, The A-List Review 2014 Movie Yearbook. Over 150 reviews, 150. Only $10. Contact me through Facebook or Twitter if you're interested. Until next time, Troop out.